Be catching up with Neria Hlakotsa, a reporter who is in Kimberly and giving us a picture of really what's going on in the Northern Cape. There's a lot of news stories coming out of the Northern Cape, but in the meantime, let's just take a look how things are going at the moment in the Northern Cape when it comes to the results that have come out. Indeed, the ANC leading there in the Northern Cape at the moment with 49.48% of the support of the votes there. The DA coming in second. We're looking at 21.41% for the DA there, translating to 72 seats. Let me just go back to the ANC there. You'll see that then translates to 186 seats. Then we have the EFF coming in third in the Northern Cape there with 9.05% of the votes. That translates to 25 seats. And if you want to look at the number of votes of each of those, if we're looking at the top three indeed there, the EFF at 52,244, the DA at 123,615, and then of course the ANC at number one there with 285,675. So that's the situation right now in the Northern Cape. And then if we can look at some of the, I'll say the smaller parties within the Northern Cape, we have the FF Plus coming in there. They have 3.45% of the votes at the moment, and the Patriotic Alliance, interestingly, they really did campaign quite a bit in the Northern Cape, so sitting there at 3.02%. So we'll call it the top five at the moment in that province in the Northern Cape. And it does turn out as well that the Northern Cape had one of the highest voter turnouts that we saw. Look, the voter turnout was indeed low, but the Northern Cape, it seems, having really done quite well when it comes to people actually going to the polls. Let's take a look at what's happening then more deeply and in depth with Neria. Neria, very good morning to you. Let's talk about the Northern Cape. Quite a few stories coming out of the Northern Cape. One of them being the fact that the ANC has been victorious in Khaima, Tembelihle and Renosterburg councils. Talk to us more on what's happening there and what it looks like in the Northern Cape.
Good morning to you, Flo. Well, what we know now in the Northern Cape is that counting is expected to resume at 7 a.m. It was, of course, halted yesterday after power cuts at the Joe Murolong municipality. So essentially, that is the area that we're still waiting for in terms of results. What we know, we are at least at 89% of counting. I mean, if I can just give you the numbers here, Flo, we have at least counted 285 odd votes so far here in the Northern Cape. You must remember that at least 623,000 people registered to vote. So we can see roughly we at maybe half of that. And I think also another thing we must mention is that at this point we have 13 controlled councils already, but ANC, of course, is still leading somehow. We are seeing that it's at 49.48%. Followed there by the DA, of course, at 29.4. But I think the most interesting thing here, Flo, that we can look at, it's the VF Plus. I mean, in 2016, the VF Plus was only at 1%. But right now, as the counting continues, we are seeing it at 3%. So that's an increase. And then we have the new kid on the block, which is the Patriotic Alliance, already claiming 3% so far, and pushing COPE away, really, because COPE is almost non-existent. It is at 0%, well, basically 0.36%, which is almost nowhere, really. But, you know, to make sense of it all, Flo, I am joined by Professor Andre Duvenage, just to help us contextualize these numbers. Prof, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know it's an early morning, but the numbers are still moving. We are still counting, and we are seeing ANC still emerging relatively victorious.
Yes, indeed, that is the case. If we look at the figures, we must take into consideration it is preliminary because we have about counted 90%. But there's a number of important tendencies. The ANC is down with about 10% from 58 to 49%. The Democratic Alliance from about 25 to 21.4. The EFF, and that is very interesting, it seems as if the EFF has reached a ceiling of around 9%. Then, very interesting, the Freedom Front Plus, last time 2016, about 1% support. Currently, they are at 3.45% support. So it seems as if support from the Democratic Alliance went the way of the Freedom Front Plus. And then we need to mention the community group, the Namakwaland Civic Movement, standing at 1.74, the Siatemba Community grouping 1.14, Hope for the Future 1.38. So there's a tendency away from political parties towards community groupings, and that is a very interesting, strong tendency. Now, where does this leave us? At this point in time, it seems as if there will be 13 hung councils at this point in time. And if I can mention just a few, sorry, it's not 13, it is 9. Yeah. It's 9, it was originally 3, currently 9. It is Namakwa, it is Hantam, it is the Hoogland area, it is Keis, it is Siatemba, and a number of others. Now, Thembalise also in that category, or the Orania context. Now, that is very interesting. So what we are going to see is a lot more coalition politics or coalition-driven politics. But giving the power base of the ANC, which in most cases is in the 40%, I believe it will be possible for the ANC to dominate the majority of the 26 municipalities by making arrangements with especially your smaller parties. I do not see major alliances between the ANC and, say, for example, the EFF or the Democratic Alliance, except if there's an arrangement on a national level between the parties and they are ordered to work together closer, which is not impossible. But ANC still dominant despite the fact that they have lost a lot of support.
And I guess, Prof, there, when we speak about these community-based forums, if you may, I think now when we see them getting seats also, I guess they're not so small anymore. They're actually going to be important for these parties.
Yeah, indeed, they are going to be important. Now, it is said that many of them are splinter groupings related to the ANC one way or another. And I think, in a way, this is making cooperation between the ANC and these groupings probably a bit easier, and they may accommodate them within the structures. But again, and that is the macro story of the 2021 elections, and that is more and more coalition politics. And in a way, this is going to reconfigure the whole political environment in South Africa. To me, it's part of what I call the post-tipping point politics. And it will be interesting to see how different groupings in sometimes very different environments are going to position and reposition themselves. And I believe there will be a form of asymmetrical cooperation. In one environment, the EFF may be closer to the ANC, but in another environment, other parties may, for example, be closer to the ANC. So it will be interesting to see how this dynamics will play out and how this will influence the politics of local government here in the Northern Cape.
And Prof, I'm thinking right now, thinking about the 49% that, 49 odd percent that the ANC finds itself in. What affected it? Was it service delivery? What affected these numbers? Because most of these independent candidates that we see, they were former ANC councillors. They were this, they were that. What could have affected ANC so much?
Well, I think a number of things. We have seen in July the big resistance coming from KZN and other parts. There's without any doubt resistance against the government or the grouping of Cyril Ramaphosa in certain areas. There is the contradiction that he is also, as an individual, a very popular figure. But fact of the matter is, there is resistance. Secondly, people are very, very much dissatisfied with the current state of service delivery in the province. I must mention, and I had mentioned it in the past, that the level of service delivery in the Northern Cape is better than, for example, in the Northwest. But still, there were water shortages, there are outstanding payments, there's a number of mismanagement of funds, and people are really dissatisfied with the current state of affairs. Interesting is that the resistance is bigger than is shown on the results. And the reason for that is that there's a high level of political apathy. My initial figures, and this is based on the information we currently have, is that we are seeing a drop from about 60% down to 45% in terms of voter turnout. So the level of political apathy is high, and I believe this also had an impact, a negative impact, on the support base of the ANC, and maybe in a way also on the Democratic Alliance.
Thank you so much, Prof. I would like us to leave it right there. That was Professor Andre Duvenage, just making sense of what we are seeing and what is coming out currently from the Northern Cape. Let me cross back to you for now, Flo.